I finally cut it out so it's all fitting nicely and there won't be any precipitate getting around the edges. And then we have to weigh it. So I'll just sit it on the scales. Hang on, make sure that the scales are zeroed. So we press tear on this one for it to be 0. Sit it on the scales. And then write down the mass of our Buchner funnel and paper. So it's 204.11 grams. So you notice that we've only got 2 decimal places now rather than 3. Okay, so now we're up to step 8. We've weighed it and recorded the mass, and we're going to filter it using the filter flask and vacuum pump. Filter most of the liquid and then wash the precipitate carefully with small hot washers. So we want to make sure we're washing. I'll explain that why we're washing once we start. All right, so this filter paper, remember, is much finer. So the water rushes through here and will actually drag the air out of this, so it makes a vacuum in here. So the air is rushing through and it's dragging. The reason that we need this is because if I put the water in there, it would take forever to filter through. So we're going to drag the water and all the other ions through. So to start with, if we just wet it with some deionized water, it will make it sit down much better. So to start with, if you just wet it a bit, then the paper is flat. And I'll show you the suction on the paper. So at the moment, if you film there, if we hold this down and switch the water on, you'll be able to see that it's sucked the paper right down. Yeah? Okay, so that looks pretty good. This is kind of the main error that students make. The barium sulfate will get around the side of the paper and it'll be cloudy down in here. So if that happens, you've lost your barium sulfate, so the percentage will be lower than it should have been. All right, so we'll put some of the ions in. I'm just a bit nervous about this. We've got this tied up here. Normally with students doing it, we would have someone holding that just to make sure it doesn't blow off the tap, and the other student would be holding this and filtering it. I'm doing it at the moment, so hopefully I don't drown in. Okay, so it's sucking it through. Just try and pour it into the middle. We'll get rid of most of so all the other ions are being sucked through at the moment. So we've got extra chlorine and barium that didn't react with the sulfate. And we've got ammonium ions from the fertilizer. It's all being dragged through, but it should be clear down there. So if it goes cloudy, then we've got a hole in our filter paper. So now I've just stirred it all up. So I might make it a little bit faster so that our barium sulfate will stay in the middle. Don't make it too fast. You can get holes in the filter paper because the paper kind of gets dragged through the holes as well. We're trying to collect the barium sulfate in the middle. Just give it a swirl every now and again. So you can see that the paper's starting, you can't see the holes anymore. So it's clear down the bottom. Thank goodness. Alright, so you might pause that in a minute because it's probably board rigid.